it's honestly better than last week's card, and it's free as well.
Yeah.
So you can't beat it.
Yeah, I can't beat it. It's definitely a good fight night card. Lots of fun fights. But we're going to jump right into this thing. We're actually going to start at the top of the card tonight. So we're starting with the main event. Derrick Lewis versus Curtis Blaydes. Who you feeling in this one, man? This is a good one.
Yeah, so in this heavyweight bout, we have Curtis Blaydes versus Derrick Lewis. Blaydes is entering this fight with a 14-2-0 record as a minus 420 favorite. Lewis is entering this fight with a 24-7-0 record as a plus 335 favorite. I do think if Blaydes is able to keep this fight on the ground, he's going to win this fight with ease. But there's no value in betting on him as a minus 420 favorite. If this fight remains on the ground, once again, I think Blaydes will be able to land a submission at one point during this fight. And for these reasons, my pick is Blaydes by submission at plus 400.
Yeah, man, it's an interesting matchup. We have here, and I said it in our individual videos, man. Betting on Derrick Lewis is stressful. You're just hoping for a knockout the whole fight because he's not going to last all 5 rounds in there, man. He just gets tired. So. And it's one of those things, if Derrick Lewis does catch Curtis Blaydes, he could go to sleep, but I just don't see it happening, man. Curtis Blaydes has looked dominant. Other than the two Francis Ngannou fights where he got one he got knocked out, one he just was bloodied up and they had to stop the fight. Other than that, man, he's looked unstoppable. Just takes down guys, has some of the meanest ground and pound in the game. And I could see that happening in this fight. I want to bet Curtis Blaydes knockout, but the odds, it's like minus 140 for a knockout. I don't love those odds, so it's a sketchy one, man, but I'm picking the over 2.5 rounds. I think Curtis Blaydes will take down Derrick Lewis over and over again, and, I'm just hoping here that Derrick Lewis is able to survive those first 2 rounds, and I do see Curtis Blaydes ground and pounding this guy and finishing him, but, I'm hoping for the later rounds. So I'm going over 2.5 rounds on this one. I think it's at like plus 135. So pretty good odds there on the over. That's my pick for that one. You want to go to the next one, Payne?
Yeah. So in the co-main event, we have Keelan Vieira versus Yana Kunitskaya. And I apologize for the pronunciation of those names. Vieira is entering this fight with 11-1-0 record as the minus 270 favorite. Yana's entering this fight with a 13-5-0 record as a plus 230 underdog. Vieira did win her last fight against Sarah Eubanks. And before her last win, she did lose to Irene Aldana in the first round via KO at UFC 245. Vieira was on a 10-fight win streak before her loss to Aldana. And, I think Vieira is a future title challenger, and I think she's easily going to win this fight. And for these reasons, my pick is Vieira to win by decision at minus 120.
Yeah, man. Like you said, Yana has fought and beat better girls than Vieira. Even has a fight against Chris Cyborg. But, man, this Ketlin Vieira girl she's the future. I really think so, Other than that Aldana fight, I really think she's a true contender. And, poor Yana, they give her this absolute beast who's on the come up. But, yeah, man, I'm going to have to agree with you there. I'm taking Vieira via decision as well at minus 120. I actually think those are really good odds for this fight. I don't see a finish happening, so Vieira via decision at minus 120 is a solid pick in my opinion. Next we got
Go ahead, Brad.
Next we got Charles Rosa versus Derek Minner. You want to get us into this one?
Yeah, so this is a featherweight fight. Rosa's entering this fight with a 13-4-0 record as a minus 185 favorite. Minner's entering this fight as a 25-11-0 record as a plus 160 underdog. Rosa did win his last fight against Kevin Aguilar, and before his last win, he had a devastating loss to Bryce Mitchell via decision. And then we got Minner. Minner won his last fight against TJ Laramine, and before his last win, he did lose to Grant Dawson via rear naked choke in round 2. I'm going to have to give a slight lean to Charles Rosa, but there's no value with going with Rosa as a minus 185 favorite. So I'm going to go with Rosa by decision at plus 350.
Yeah, personally, this is a fight I would stay away from. With Charles Rosa, sometimes he looks good, but we also seen him take some bad losses. I just don't feel comfortable betting Rosa with these odds. So I'm going with the value pick here, and I'm going with Minner. I feel like he has a better wrestling than Charles Rosa. We saw what Bryce Mitchell did to Charles Rosa. But, I mean, that's not saying much. I mean, it's Bryce Mitchell. He's going to take down everyone and strangle everyone. So, I'm taking Minner at plus 160 money line. I think he'll be able to squeak out a decision. But like I said, man, it's a slight lean. Definitely would stay away from this one.
Definitely.
Next we got Alexei Olynyk versus Chris Daukaus. Who you got with these big boys, man?
Yeah, so in this heavyweight fight, we have Olynyk versus Chris Daukaus. Olynyk's entering this fight with a 59-14-1 record. Chris Daukaus entering with a 10-3-0 record. Daukaus is coming in as a -160 slight favorite, and Olynyk is the +140 underdog. Olynyk did lose his last fight to Derrick Lewis via second round ground and pound, but you can't put too much stock into that loss because everyone gets finished by Derrick Lewis. If Daukaus were to win this fight, he's going to win by knockout. And if Olynyk is able to survive Daukaus' lethal first round blows, I think that he should be able to get this fight to the ground. And if he is able to get to this fight to the ground, I see Olynyk winning by submission. So I think there's a lot of value with Olynyk winning by submission. And for that reason, I'm going to go with Olynyk by submission at +255.
Yeah, man, this is two different guys in two different types of careers. We got Daukaus on the come up. Still short in his UFC career. And then we got Alexei Olynyk, who has 61 more professional fights than Daukaus. I mean, I don't know if there's anyone who has more professional fights than Alexei Olynyk. And, he's proved himself. And he does good against the up-and-coming younger guys. We've seen him struggle against some more of the veteran guys, some of the more higher-level guys. So, I don't know. That kind of makes me want to go with Olynyk here. Like you said, man, if Daukaus, if he's able to dodge Daukaus' shots in that first round, I think Olynyk can take him down. Daukaus does have decent wrestling, but I feel like Olynyk will be able to take him down at some point in this fight. And I mean, Olynyk's submission skills are unreal. So I don't know. I'm leaning towards Olynyk here. I could see Daukaus getting choked late in the fight. So me and Payne are in agreement in this one. Take Alexei Olynyk as the underdog pick. A lot of value there. Next, we got Phil Hawes versus Nasruddin Imavov. Who you got in this, Payne?
Yeah, so in this middleweight fight, we have Phil Hawes versus Nasruddin Imavov. Hawes is entering this fight with a 9-2-0 record, coming in as a slight favorite at -125. Imavov's coming into this fight with the same exact record at 9-2-0, but he's also coming into this fight as a +105 underdog. Hawes is on a 5-fight win streak. In his last fight, he did win his UFC debut against Jacob Malcone via first-round KO. And then we have Imavov. Imavov is going to have a significant height advantage, but Hawes is going to have the longer reach. And I really do think that if Imavov is able to survive the first round, he is going to win this fight. And for these reasons, my pick is Imavov money line at +105.
Yeah, man, this is going to be a fun one. And this fight was actually supposed to happen a couple weeks ago, but Phil Hawes supposedly had an undisclosed injury, which is worrying, man. This makes me want to pick Imavov. If Phil Hawes did have that injury, he probably wasn't able to train as hard. And Imavov's is fresh. He's ready to go. Had a couple more weeks to train. So, I don't know, man. Phil Hawes definitely has the power advantage, but I think Imavov is the better complete fighter. So, I don't know, man. I'm going to lean towards Imavov too with the value there at +105. So, I don't know. I like that pick a lot. Take Imavov there. Imavov money line all day. Who do you want to go through next, Payne? That Arlovski versus Aspinall fight?
Let's jump right into it. So in this heavyweight fight, we have Andrei Arlovski, who's coming into this fight with a 30-19-0 record versus Tom Aspinall with a 9-2-0 record. Arlovski's coming into this fight as a +205 underdog, Aspinall a -245 favorite. Arlovski is on a 2-fight win streak, and he beat Tanner Bosser and Philip Lins in his last few fights. And he really is a true UFC veteran. However, his age is what concerns me. He clearly still has a chin to be fighting in the heavyweight division, but he's now the gatekeeper of the UFC heavyweight division. He's kind of taken over the role of the Donald Cerrone at the lightweight division. And therefore, I think he's going to be. I think that Tom Aspinall is going to be a UFC up and coming prospect. I've been really high on Aspinall since he's joined the UFC, and honestly, I'm a big fan of his. But based on Arlovski's experience, call me crazy, but my pick is Arlovski money line at +205.
Yeah. Oh wow, you're going Arlovski +205. Wow. Okay. Very interesting there, in my opinion. I think Tom Aspinall is a true contender. Just a great all-around fighter. Actually started his specialty was jiu-jitsu, moved on to boxing. Man, I'm still surprised he picked Arlovski in that fight. Wow.
I've just based off of his last performance against Tanner Bosser or Boser, he was an up-and-coming UFC prospect. He was an up-and-coming UFC prospect too, and I doubt him in that fight. And Arlovski, I think he's due for a win, man. I think he's going to get another win here. Call me crazy, but +205. Wait till last minute. guys. A lot of money is going to come in on Tom Aspinall. A lot of people are going to throw him in a parlay and some type of crazy parlay, but I really like Arlovski plus 205. Call me crazy. I know.
Oh, I'm calling you crazy on that one, but yeah, man, Tom Aspinall, this guy's the truth, man. I truly believe so. Like I said, started with jiu-jitsu, then learned boxing, has great footwork, just an all-around great fighter. And man, I don't know. I feel bad for Arlovski in this one. They just keep giving Arlovski these young animals. You're right. He did get that Bosner win. It was a close fight. Some people had Bosner, some people had Arlovski, but I don't know, man. I think Tom Aspinall is able to KO Arlovski here. I think Arlovski, he caught a break there with that Tanner Bosner fight. I think he should have got knocked out in that one. I'm surprised Tanner didn't do that. But yeah, man, this is someone that everyone should be watching in the heavyweight division. Take Tom Aspinall via KO at -105. Me and Pena are on big disagreements on that one. I'm excited for that one.
Here's the thing. My pick is a slight lean, but I do think there's a lot of value with Arlovski. He has more experience, significantly more experience. So, and then in the chat, we've got Sean Harper saying Masvidal is raw, but Jake Paul is tougher. I mean, obviously. Jesus Christ.
Sean Harper every week with these Jake Paul comments. we have to bring it up. It's every week.
Every week.
So, hey, shout out Sean Harper, though. Keep coming in the chat, Sean Harper. We appreciate you watching. But what's next, Pan? You want to go this Jared Gordon versus Danny Chavez fight?
Yeah, let's jump right into it. So in this featherweight fight, we have Jared Gordon versus Danny Chavez. Gordon's entering this fight with a 16-4-0 record. Chavez 11-3-0. Gordon's entering this fight as a plus 125 underdog. Chavez minus 145 slight favorite. Gordon won his last fight against Chris Fishgold, and before this win, he was on a 3-fight losing streak. But he did lose to Charles Oliveira, Joaquim Silva, and Diego Ferreira, so you can't put too much stock in these losses. And then we got Chavez. He's on a 4-fight winning streak, and in his last fight, he beat TJ Brown via decision, who's also teammates with Bryce Mitchell. Chavez is currently 1-0 in the UFC, so it'll be interesting to see how he handles fighting a UFC veteran like Jared Gordon. I think Chavez has been more active and is going to have a significant striking advantage. So for these reasons, my pick is Danny Chavez money line at minus 145.
Yeah, man, this is going to be a high-level fight. I think it's going to be a really close and competitive fight. Danny Chavez, super high-level striker. Jared Gordon, just solid all around. It's not going to impress you too much anywhere, but just a good fighter. But man, I think Chavez will give him a bunch of different looks on the feet. I think Danny's leg kicks will play a huge role in this fight. I see him chopping down those legs from start to finish. And, man, if Danny can keep this fight standing, I think he dominates. I think he is the better striker in this fight. So I'm going Danny Chavez via decision. I was thinking that money line, but there's just a little too much juice on that for me. So I'm liking him in decision. I hope those leg kicks aren't too much for Jared to, get our early stop here. So I'm taking Danny. Next, we got Jakar Close versus Luis Pena. Fight I'm super excited about. Who you got, Pen?
Yeah, so in this lightweight bout, we have Dakar Close versus Luis Pena. Close coming into his fight with 11-2-0 record. Pena 8-3-0. Close is a minus 170 favorite. Pena is a plus 150 underdog. Close lost his last fight to Benelli Dariush, but you can't put too much stock in that loss. Dariush has really had a great UFC career thus far. And before that loss, he was on a 3-fight winning streak. He has notable wins over Christos Giagos, Bobby Green, and Lando Venata. And Close was supposed to fight Jay Herbert on this card, but Luis Pena stepped in on short notice. Close is going to have a significant wrestling advantage in this fight, and he's been training with Michael Johnson and Sean O'Malley. And I think his pressure is going to be too much for Pena to handle. But Pena is taking this fight on short notice, so that's definitely worth noting. Pena is going to have a significant reach advantage, but I do think Close will be able to close the distance. And for these reasons, my pick is Close wins by decision at plus 105.
Heck yeah. Yeah, shout out Dan Hazlitt. I would throw your comment up here. We're having a little Wi-Fi issues, so we don't want this thing to lag at all, but hey, we appreciate that, man. It means a lot. But yeah, man, like I said, this is a fight I'm super excited about. Two guys I love to watch. Luis Pena, like you said, coming into this fight on 10 days notice. I'm a big Sean O'Malley fan, so I watch all his videos, and I see Jakar Close putting in that work. And yeah, man, that's going to be a big difference in this fight, just the amount of time these guys had to train. Jakar Close coming off that crazy KO loss against Dariush. That was rough to see, but man, he was in that fight and almost knocked Dariush out. So that shows you how high level Jakar Close is. And man, I just think Jakar Close is a better fighter in every aspect than Pena. I'm a Pena fan, but I don't know, man. Close is just too solid all around, and I think he's going to be able to take the win here. So Jakar Close via decision at plus 105 is my pick, and personally, I love that pick. I think there's some great value there. So to take Jakar Close in this one, he should get a win here. Next, we got Eddie Wineland versus John Castaneda. Who you got in this one, man?
Yeah, so, I'm just going to jump right to it in this one. But Wineland, he's been in the octagon with some of the best the sport has to offer, but I do think Castaneda's age, durability, and significant striking advantage will win him this fight. And, for this reason, my pick is Castaneda money line minus 120.
Oh, keeping it simple. Yeah, man. Eddie Wineland, WEC champ, true veteran in the game, versus, John Castaneda, whose first fight in the UFC was against Nathaniel Wood. Had some good moments in that fight, but did end up losing that fight. So, you can't put too much on that fight because just Nathaniel Wood is so high level. And for your first UFC fight, that is not an easy fight to go into. And, man, it's a very slight lean, but I'm going Eddie Wineland on this one, man. I just haven't seen it. I just haven't seen enough for Castaneda, to pick him in this fight. It's a fight I'm going to stay away from, but I'm going with the veteran here, just like how you went with Arlovski. Eddie Wineland, let's do it.
Oh, I don't like that, but we'll
like
jump
that?
into the next one.
Gotcha. We got.
I know we're going to disagree on this one.
Hey, we'll see. We got Nate Landwehr versus Julia Rosa, Juicy J. Who you got, Ben?
Yeah, so Rosa had COVID 6 months ago, and he did talk about in an interview I watched that it took him 6 to 8 weeks to get his lung back to normal after the virus. So I think that's definitely worth noting. Like, clearly he wasn't training during that time. I do think this fight will remain on the feet throughout the entire 3 rounds. And if this happened, I think Nate's going to win this fight. I think he has a significant strike advantage, and, he doesn't necessarily have the reach advantage in this fight, but we've seen it in his previous fights. That doesn't really matter, and for these reasons, my pick is Nate Landwehr money line at minus 115.
Yeah, man, I see this being fight of the night. Nate Landwehr is just an absolute wild man. If you haven't, go watch that fight against Darren Elkins. It was an absolute war. Just 2 crazy boys just throwing bombs. But, man, I think Nate Landwehr is going to come into this one, overextend on some of his punches. And, man, I just think Julia Rosa is too technical. Just a super technical veteran fighter. And I think he's able to weather Nate's storm in the first couple of rounds and pick him apart at the end. So, me and Payne are in a disagreement with this one, but I'm taking the more experienced guy, the guy with the better fight IQ, and I'm going with Juicy J. So taking Juicy J, Julia Rosa. Sorry, I can't help but call him Juicy J.
Yeah.
At minus 105. Next, we got Raphael Alves versus Patricksabatini. 2 prospects here. Who you got, Payne?
Yeah, so Raphael Alves in this featherweight bout. He's entering this fight with the 19-9-0 record. Sabatini 13-3-0. Alves is a minus 185 favorite. Sabatini plus 160 underdog. Alves is on a 5-fight winning streak, and in his last fight, he did win against Alejandro Flores in second round guillotine on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. Alves was originally scheduled to fight Mike Trezano on this card, but that fight fell through, unfortunately. And then we got Sabatini. Sabatini is on a 2-fight winning streak. He's also making his UFC debut. Sabatini's only has 1 stoppage loss, which was 3 fights ago, and he experienced an arm injury during that same fight. So Sabatini is extremely durable, so I don't think I see Alves finishing him, and I do think Alves is a more well-rounded fighter. So for these reasons, my pick is Raphael Alves via decision at plus 246.
Gotcha. Yeah, we just got a comment from Raina Michael watching this from Houston with no power, no water. Man, stay safe out there. It's tough out there, man. Texas infrastructure just wasn't built for all that snow. So, hey, at least you're watching the show, man. Appreciate it. But yeah, dude, this is a fun fight. Sabatini coming into this one on 8 days notice. Both these guys, like I said, are prospects. We're champs in different promotions. Alves is coming off that Dana White Contender Series win, Sabatini's first UFC fight. So this is the first time these guys are able to prove themselves on this type of stage. And man, I think Alves will come out hot, throw a lot of punches in the first round, just look good in the first round, man. But if Sabatini can weather that storm, I think he will have success in the later round. So I'm going with the underdog pick. I'm going Patricksabatini money line at plus 160. I don't know. Raphael Alves is just some juiced up, muscular dude, and I feel like that those extra muscles may slow him down later in the fight. So give me Sabatini at plus 160. Next, we got a little female fight: Shayna Dobson versus Casey ONeil. Who you got, Pen?
Yeah, so in this flyweight bout, we have Dodson versus Casey ONeil. Dodson's coming into his fight with a 4-4-0 record as a plus 130 underdog. O'Neill's coming into his fight as a flawless 5-0-0 record as a minus 150 slight favorite. Dodson did win her last fight against Mariana Agapova via ground and pound in the second round. And before her last win, she was on a 3-fight losing streak. Her current record is in the UFC is 1-3, so that's definitely worth noting. This is a must-win fight for her if she wants to not have any fear of getting cut by the UFC. Then we have ONeil. ONeil has a flawless 5-0 record, as I mentioned. She's fought in UAE Warriors and Eternal MMA. The one thing that's concerning to me about ONeil, though, is she's jumping straight in from UAE into the UFC. She didn't have to fight in the Contender Series or anything along that line. And although she has not fought top-level competition, there's no doubt that Dodson has fought better competition. And, even though Dodson is a more experienced fighter, I think that Casey ONeil is going to win this fight with ease. And for that reason, I'm going to go with Casey ONeil money line.
Heck yeah. What's up, Marlo? Welcome back, man. Thanks for joining. But yeah, man, I had to take Casey ONeil here as well. Even though, Dobson has more of experience on this type of stage, she had some good moments in her fight, but, we've seen her get outclassed as well. Absolutely outclassed. So Casey has looked solid throughout her whole career. Nothing too impressive, but she knows how to pull out wins, as you could tell with, like Payne would say, that flawless 5-0 record. But I had to take Casey ONeil here as well, money line. Next, we got Chad Skelly versus Jamal Emers. Who you feeling on this one, man?
Yeah, so in this featherweight fight, we have Jamal Emers versus Chad Kelly. Emers is entering this fight with an 18-5-0 record as a minus 235 favorite. Chaz Kelly's entering this fight with an 18-3-0 record as a plus 195 underdog. Kelly did win his last fight against Jordan Griffin in September 2019, but before that win, he lost to Jason Knight in May of 2017. He has been extremely inactive, which is somewhat concerning, especially based on his age. And against a fighter like Jamal Emers, you probably don't want to be inactive for too long against him. And then we have Emers. Emers won his last fight against Vince Gachero in August 2020. And before his last win, he lost to Jija Chikazia at UFC 248. There's a lot to like about Emers coming into this fight. He's going to have a significant striking advantage. He has the better fighter IQ, and he's been relatively active. And I think, Emers couldn't finish his last opponent. So I don't see anything different happening here against Chaz Kelly. So for these reasons, my pick is Emers by decision at plus 135.
Sounds good. Pay, it's probably a good time to switch that computer. Starting to lag out a little while I give this pick. But yeah, man, both these guys have fought some good competition. Skelly has been in the game for a while and is just like a win-loss type of guy. Super high level on the ground, but is iffy when it comes to the stand-up. And Jamal Emers, he has good wrestling as well. So personally, I think that the wrestling, the ground game is going to cancel out in this fight. I just think both these guys are too high level. So I could see a stand-up fight in this one. And man, that does not favor Chaz Skelly at all. Just Chaz Skelly, he just has weird, awkward stand-up. Let me get Payne back in here. There we go. But yeah, Chaz Skelly, he just has an awkward style of stand-up and just don't like this matchup for him. So I'm going to have to agree with the Payne here. I'm going Jamal Emers via decision at plus 135. Next, we got Amian Zahabi versus Draco Rodriguez. Who you got, man?
Yeah, so I'm going to jump right into it with this fight. We got Zahabi coming in with a 7-2-0 record. Rodriguez coming in with a 7-1-0 record. Zahabi's a plus 155 underdog. Rodriguez a minus 175 favorite. Both these guys haven't fought the highest level of competition. Zahabi has had 3 UFC fights and is more experienced inside the octagon, but that's not really saying much. I think Rodriguez is easily going to win this fight. I think he's going to have a significant striking and wrestling advantage, but there's no value betting on Rodriguez as a minus 175 favorite. The value's in a prop bet. I'm going to go with Rodriguez via decision at plus 163.
Yeah, we're lagging a little bit still, so we'll go through this quick. Ayman Sahabi, the brother of Faraz Sahabi, legendary coach, coach GSP, and you could tell by, how technical his striking is, how good his footwork is, but he hasn't fought since 2019 and is on a 2-fight losing streak. And then Draco, man, this guy's a contender. This guy's someone to definitely watch out for. Had an impressive win over in his Dana White Contender Series fight, and it's his first fight on this big stage. But man, like I said, this is a guy to watch out for, and I think he's just a better all-around fighter, more of a complete fighter than Sahabi. So I'm gonna have to agree with you here. I'm going Draco via decision at plus 163. Love those odds, man. That's some good value there to get him at decision. Next, we got the heavyweights, the last fight of the card, or actually the first fight technically. Sergey Spivak versus Jared Vandeira. Who you got, Payne?
Yeah, so once again, I'm just going to jump right into it. Spivak is entering this fight as a minus 245 favorite. Vendeira plus 205 underdog. Vandeira has fought relatively good competition on the regional scene, but Spivak has just more UFC experience, and I think he's a more well-rounded fighter. And for these reasons, I'm going to go Spivak wins inside this 95.
Yeah, man. Vendeira's first UFC fight here. In the UFC, Spivak has looked great. Just watched that Tai Tuivasa fight, but then other times he's looked questionable. Man, it's hard to get a read on Sergey. I think both these guys are coming into this fight with only one decision each. Sergey got one decision. Vendeira got one decision. So I think this is going to be a quick one. I think these boys are going to come out swinging. So I'm taking the under 2.5 rounds at minus 115. You're laying a little juice there, but overall, I think it's some good odds. I don't see this fight going over 2.5 rounds. So that's me and Payne's picks. It's going to be a fun card. We'll be back on Saturday in between the prelims and main card. So check us out if you want to hear the picks again. Our separate videos will also be up probably tomorrow. We got a video on each fight, so check those out. Anything else, Payne?
I think that's it, Brad. Sorry about my lag, by the way, guys. Every episode's gonna get better and better. We're constantly working to fix it.
Yep, we're working it out. We're doing some troubleshooting. But awesome, guys. Have a good one.